throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my co-host Melissa Wallace and I will provide you with my team's unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We value the experience of our agents at Boston Connect Real Estate so much that not only will you hear my perspective on real estate topics, occasionally you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of our experienced agents at Boston Connect Real Estate.
Today.
Be a part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And good morning to all my South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I'm live and in studio with the one and only Sue Bollinger.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a good weekend. It's back to being cold.
Yeah, it is back to being cold. We had a couple of days this week that were, creeping up on 90, and I was already over it. Sharon is thriving. She was thriving in the heat, but I was like, oh, get me inside.
Yeah, no, not me. I love warm weather.
Yeah.
Even if it's like 90 and humid, I'm still good.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just love it.
I'm good with that. No, thank you.
I'm just not
good
cut
with
out for cold.
Yeah, I am definitely like a fall girl. Fall's my jam, we say around here. But yeah, I mean, so today I'm not so worried about the weather. This weekend is not going to be great, I don't think.
It's not going to be great, but today won't be too bad. It's not raining right now.
Yeah,
so.
Not raining right now. We'll see.
We'll take that.
We'll cross our fingers. We'll take that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully warmer weather is coming upon us. But for now, we'll deal with this.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I feel like you haven't been on in a while. Sharon is with her daughter Mackenzie and her sister and her niece up in New Hampshire. Mackenzie goes there every year and gets the camp that she volunteered at ready for the season. So they all went up there yesterday. And
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I know.
She's like, doesn't even live
living in
yet.
Texas. Yeah, living in Texas, flying back to get it ready. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so they're up there. So that's why we're doing the show today.
Woohoo.
It's you and I.
All right.
And everybody knows that, we come up with topics that are going on in our everyday business. And I feel like when I think of you, and I know that you have listings and buyers, but when I think of you as such a strong buyer's agent.
I actually love working with buyers.
And I think that's why. I think I know that, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of all of our agents, like what they love about their business. Yeah. And I feel like I know that you love working with your buyers.
Yes. It's one of my favorite things. I mean, I love listing properties, but working with buyers is so much fun.
Yeah.
Some people don't like.
Some people don't like.
Yeah, they don't
to
like
work with buyers. We'll just say it.
Yeah, and some people don't like to have because it can be an all day thing.
Yeah.
You go on a tour, you look at 5 or 6 properties on the same day,
and they might not want to put an offer on any of them.
Right.
And you just move on. You move on to the next 5 that they're going to look at.
I'm good with it. I love looking at properties. So if somebody wants to make an appointment, I'll keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah. I am going to give you a moment to sort of reintroduce yourself to all of our listeners in case they haven't caught one of your shows.
Yeah, so I am Sue Bollinger. I've been selling real estate for over 20 years. I stopped counting at 20. If it's over 20, because it ages me, so I don't want to say. But I've been working full-time in the industry for my whole real estate career. And I do work with both buyers and sellers. And if you ever want to reach out to me, you can go to southshorevibes.com. That's my website. And you can call me at 508-317-5729.
Give that phone number one more time.
508-317-5729.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. We just talked about the weather being cold. I'm sweating in this sweatshirt. I'm sweating. If you are following us on social media, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, we're not doing Instagram today. We're still trying to figure out the landscape thing with that, whatever. But we are live on social media, so be sure to follow us, Boston Connect Real Estate. We are also live on Sharon McNamara's Facebook, even though she's not here. We have access to it.
We do.
So we're waving. Hi, everybody. And then, of course, if you want to join in on the discussion, Tim is in studio, right, Tim?
Yes, good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Tim is in studio. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I sent you a text. Could you either have Sue move closer to a microphone or boost
can
the
you
level
hear
up?
me?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect.
Yeah. All right.
So if you want to join in on the discussion, you can give us a call or a text at the studio, 781-837-4900. So today we're going to be talking about buyers, all about buyers. And like I said, before, you love your buyers, you love your sellers too, but we're gonna be talking about buyers today.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
the idea of today's show is sort of what buyers should know about viewing properties. Why don't you give a couple examples of how buyers can view properties, whether it's in person or virtual?
Yeah, so you can do in person or virtual. I always recommend in person. Mm-hmm. To be honest, most sellers agents, they don't really take the buyer as seriously if they don't do an in person showing. Mm-hmm. In fact, as a seller's agent, if somebody only wants to do a Facebook tour or look at pictures and then puts an offer in, I actually don't advise my sellers to take the offer until the buyer's actually taken an actual look at the house, because there's so much you miss if you don't see the property in person. So I always, as a buyer's agent and a seller's agent, recommend that the buyer physically see the property. Sometimes that's impossible, right? Like if somebody's out of state, and you're trying to buy, you can't just fly in for every showing. So I totally get that. But you should really try to see the property in person.
Sharon actually has a new listing. We'll promote later on in the program, and I know that you have a listing as well that you're doing an open house at today. But she put on a new listing in Norwell a couple days ago, and she got a text saying, "I have an out-of-state buyer who's interested in your property. However, they are very tall. How high are the ceilings? Because they don't want to waste anybody's time."
Right.
So again, it's just a simple question, about, the ceiling height, and are they normal ceiling height? Are they vaulted? But again, this buyer is out of town, but they know, okay, I'm not going to come into town and look at a property that I know I'm not going to purchase.
Absolutely. So,
which is smart.
It is smart. Definitely call ahead. Have the agent call ahead. The agent can certainly do a Facebook tour initially, but it's really something where you should look at the property if you can in person, because Sharon might say, oh, well, it's got, 7-foot ceilings. I think that's great. And then he flies in, thinks it's great. And then all of a sudden, he flies in, he takes a look at it, and he wanted 8-foot ceilings. You know what I mean? Like there might be like some sort of nuance there, like, oh, well, the archways are too low, or...
I was just going to say the archways are too low, or, the basement, it's not, standard height, or, you can't stand up in the basement, things like that. So definitely ask the question if you're coming from out of state, or even if you don't want to just go 2 towns over, which we get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so, it all just... We've been talking a lot about communication and how that's so prevalent and key to having a great transaction, and even before the transaction. So it's, again, bringing out your buyers to properties, and communication is key.
Yes.
And we always want to highlight that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, just some touches, when touring homes, it's more important than just walking through a property. The importance of understanding the showing process before beginning your home search. These are things we're going to be talking about today. And then setting expectations for buyers in today's market, which I think is huge. It's setting up those 5 tours, and you might not love any of those homes. Setting that expectation of, okay, we might might have to look at more than 5 homes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we're not HGTV. Don't
Yeah.
you love the HGTV where they only, you look at 3 properties and you decide one
Yeah,
of them?
we just want to let everybody know they've already chosen their property when they start filming, and they just throw in 2 other ones just
It's
to
all-
like
yes,
get the people all riled up.
It's all a production. There's
Yeah.
no way you're, well, I shouldn't
Yeah.
say that. There's been a couple of instances, am I close enough?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get you closer.
There have been a couple instances in my career where somebody has, bought, a house only having seen it once or twice,
Yes.
like in
Yeah.
no other properties. So every once in a while that does happen.
Yeah.
But it's really not the normal. Like you really should expect to see a bunch of properties
Yeah.
before you make, especially in this market,
Yeah.
even today, because there's multiple offers on properties often still. So especially the good ones. So you want
Yeah.
to make sure,
Again, with setting expectations, just letting everybody know that every showing is coordinated around a seller's schedule.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So again, setting that expectation of your showing may be declined.
Yeah.
It may be suggested another time. I think Marley's over there in some wires. But homes are still, being occupied. In a lot of the cases, there are a lot of homes that are vacant that are on the market. But just being aware that it's not just the buyer's schedule, and we'll go through that of, everybody who has to get through coordinating
Right.
that. I want to get to our first segment here. So, what it really means when you click on these buttons on these third-party sites, and you immediately roll your eyes. You immediately roll your eyes because it's like you for us it's common sense. For some people it is not, and we get that, and we have to explain that to people. I think she's hiding from you. We have Marley here in studio, and she's
Marley the dog.
Marley, and she's sometime our co-host, but she's hiding from Mark. I think she wants
She smells my dog. So
Yeah.
she's like, oh, I smell a dog.
yeah, well, she's like, usually Mommy's sitting here. What are you doing?
It's funny.
She's so funny. She's just running around. So, I want to talk about what really happens when you click and I'm in quotations if you're watching us on social media, schedule a tour online.
Yes.
What do you think buyers think that button is?
Yeah, they definitely think they're talking with the listing agent directly.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because I've had buyers do this. They'll make an appointment with they think it's directly with the listing agent, and they show up and it's not the listing agent, and the agent knows nothing about the property. So, it's really, you get, it's sort of the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
What those are agents that pay for leads.
Yeah.
And so whenever you click on that property and you make an appointment, you're getting a random agent who doesn't necessarily have a relationship with anybody. They're trying to generate a book of business. So they're paying for leads, and then they show up and they show you the property. And sometimes you'll get somebody that's good, but a lot of times you'll get somebody who's new, doesn't know anything, and knows nothing about the property. And you just don't know what you're doing when you do it. Like, so if you go to Zillow or whatever, and you click on, you're going to get a random agent.
Yeah. I think what buyers think is happening is that they're contacting a listing agent. You were right on that. And then I'm booking a guaranteed appointment.
Right.
There was some time, it was a couple months ago, there was a point in time where there was some sort of glitch on these third-party sites. And I'm purposely not really saying a lot of these names because we don't want to give them, we want people to go to BostonConnect.com.
Yes,
search
absolutely.
for your home.
Yeah.
But on these third party sites, and there was some sort of glitch where a buyer would go on these sites, click an appointment, and it was automatically confirmed.
Oh, yes.
With a buyer, not with the listing agent.
Right.
And And we had to sort of fight these third-party sites and be like, what are you doing? Like, we did not approve these. You need to take that down. Eventually they did, but it was sort of a cluster, you know what, for a little while, because, people, and these poor people were on these websites thinking that they had this appointment when they really didn't. Which is sad, because, it's tough out there.
Yeah, it really is.
It's tough
it
out
really
there.
is. Yeah.
But what actually happens is many large real estate websites send your information to agents who pay for advertising. The agent who contacts you may not be the listing agent, but they may be. In some cases, if they are paying enough to these websites, you will get the listing agent.
You can find a lot on all of these third-party sites. You can find the listing agent info, but
you got to do research.
Yeah, it's like research.
Yeah, you have to search for it.
95% of the time,
People aren't doing
the
that.
person you're contacting is not the listing agent.
Yeah.
The phone number right at the top is not the listing agent.
It's not.
95% of the time.
So again, you may unknowingly enter into communication with an agent you've never worked with before. So important buyer considerations, I would say, ask who the agent represents. And I love that. So when you get on the phone with some random person that you are talking to about this specific property, ask them, who do you represent?
100%.
They may say nobody, which means that they're not the listing agent, because if they are the listing agent, they say that they should say that they represent the seller.
Right.
And I do want to say that you can see a property that with the listing agent, you can see a property where the agent does represent the seller.
Yes.
I would say do that if you don't want representation yourself.
Yeah. But why wouldn't you want representation yourself?
Exactly.
So,
and I just want to emphasize on the reason why I said that was sometimes it's a little hard to go back to the same property over and over again. And I'm not talking about open houses, because that's an open invitation to come to the house, the public. If you're doing private showings with the listing agent, knowing that they represent the seller, sometimes it's hard to then backtrack and say, oh yeah, I do have a buyer's agent.
Right.
Well, where have they been?
Yes.
Where have they been? The listing agent who represents the seller has been showing you the property privately.
That's true.
So sometimes it is hard to backtrack. Everyone is entitled to and has the right to representation. If you are going to exercise that right, I would strongly suggest having that agent present from the very beginning.
Absolutely. It's so important to have the agent at the beginning, because your buyer's agent is going to help you define what you want in a house and how much you could. The buyer's agent helps you to work with your budget and how much you can afford. So, if you go in without a buyer, there's so much that a buyer's agent does. And if you're going in without a buyer's agent, it's really not a good idea. If you're going directly to the listing agent, keep in mind that listing agent's job and fiduciary responsibility is to the seller.
Yeah.
And so they're going to try to get the best possible price for that seller every time. So
best possible price, terms, conditions, everything.
Absolutely.
That's who they represent.
Of course.
And like I said, again, you can see a property. You can purchase a property without representation. It is possible. We see it. But we sort of always advise to have representation.
Yeah.
And when you don't, I think it's important for the listing agent to remind you every step of the way. Okay, just want to remind you that I represent the seller.
Right.
You are unrepresented. You are an unrepresented buyer. Make sure that is out there.
It's interesting because I've had a few people, like friends, who went direct to the seller before that, like a for sale by owner, and bought a house, and they were like so excited about it. And I think like, well, how do you know that you're actually paying? They thought like, oh, it's a great price.
Where did they come up with that price?
Yeah, they came down like $40,000, and I was able to buy the house, and I'm so excited. And I'm like, well, but when they came down $40,000, was it because they were already way overpriced and you're still overpaying for the house and you don't even realize it because you didn't have anyone run comps for you to make sure that and it's so nuanced too. Like, it's not just the comps, it's the condition of the house. Like, you can look at 2 3-bedroom ranches, one of them with a brand new kitchen and brand new bathroom and a brand new roof and all of these updates, and then the other one having like no updates, like a 1980s kitchen or whatever. They're definitely worth different amounts of money, like even if they have the same square footage. So you really have to talk with someone who knows what they're doing.
Sharon says that nobody has an ugly baby.
Right.
Well, no, nobody has an ugly baby, but and nobody has an ugly house, but there's definitely different house conditions.
Absolutely.
So, and we get it. There's pride of ownership. But in this case, it's, pricing the house according to the condition it's in is so important. And I bet, excuse me, Froggy, I bet that person who did that for sale by owner did reach out to agents beforehand, got numbers, and then just did it on their own.
100%. Yeah.
We get it. You're not fooling us. We know it happens. And you know what? Sometimes we just comply with it because we're just like, all right, whatever. This is just part of the business. We'll move on to the next. It comes back to us in abundance.
Right.
Hopefully. So, we get it. We know what you're doing.
We do. We do.
Getting back to these sort of third-party sites, I think understanding agency relationships before even touring homes is very, very important. And on the topic of these third-party sites and just meeting a random person, I don't think that they're taking the time to explain, but when they're in the driveway of the property that they're viewing for the first time ever meeting, I can count. Maybe I can't count because it's happened so many times. On the weekends, I used to go to a lot of your open houses when I had the time to go to a lot of your open houses and just get a feel. Now when you do like broker tours and stuff during the week, it's much easier for me to go to, or even if you're doing photos, professional photos and things like that. So I love to see you guys sort of in action. And I don't know how many times I have gone to open houses where I have literally witnessed the first meeting of agents and buyers in the driveway.
In the driveway on their way into the open house.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
And then they
And you know what I do? I go right in and I tell you. I said, I just want to let you know. Those people are meeting for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen it a bunch of times myself. And it's pretty obvious because the buyer's agent, in quotes, I say, is going through, like you could tell that they know nothing about the buyers. And the buyers kind of like look with a deer in the headlights.
I love how you use quotations because do you think that they're explaining buyer agency in the driveway?
But also, they're not supposed to, if you're a realtor, you're not supposed to be even showing without a contract, which is kind of funny. So they sometimes will get like a 1-day contract or whatever and try to like. Yeah,
and on that, be cautious about giving your personal information online to somebody. I mean, online dating, it takes a while. Like you don't just meet somebody that you met on these, sites right away. You got to sort of get to know somebody before you meet them in real life. So
truly though, you should be interviewing. So we're going to keep, as we're talking about this, like things that buyers should know, my answer is always going to come back to get a buyer's agent because it seems like, like all of this can be avoided if you interview a few agents and pick somebody that you trust that's going to guide you through the process. Because if you don't have someone guiding you through the process, there's so much that you're missing. Like, again, even just the comps, that's just like a simple, it does, for a lot of people, it's not simple, but it really is the most basic thing that a buyer's agent will do is run comps to make sure that you're paying appropriately for the house. Yeah. So.
And you know what? That the buyer's agent is going to give you that market value.
Yes.
Whatever you go above and beyond is your emotional value, which nobody can gauge.
Right.
But you want to know that if you are overpaying, that's because you have decided to.
Yes.
The competition is very high.
Yeah.
And some people feel the need to go over, and we totally get that. We understand that. But our job is to tell you what that market value is.
Exactly. And you're right. Some people will go over market value in order to get the house. And that's okay to do as long as you're doing it with the full knowledge. You're going in eyes wide open. Okay, in order to get this house, I know I'm going to be there for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
I will pay an extra $10,000 to secure that because it's worthwhile to me, because otherwise I'd be renting. Or,
and it could be your dream home and you've been searching for so long, and you it's your forever home.
Yeah.
So that $10,000 or whatever it may be over the time that you're going to live there is worth it to you.
Absolutely.
And we get that.
Yeah.
And we'll talk you through that process as well.
Yeah.
Moving on to, I want to get your opinion on what you think is the best way to see a property. What do you think is the best way to see a property?
Well, through your buyer's agent, clearly. I keep coming back to that.
I can't emphasize it enough.
So, I try to go to, obviously, when you get really busy and you have multiple open houses, sometimes your buyers will go to an open house without you.
Yeah.
And that does happen. And, but I do try to go to the properties with my buyers, because I really think that there's some things that I might notice that the buyer won't.
Yeah.
I know, for example, I was working with a first-time buyer, like a year ago, and he went to an open house because I was busy doing an open house. And then when we went back he loved this house. He was like, "This is it. I'm buying this house. I love it." It was, it was a 2-family. He really wanted a 2-family. So, I actually went through the process and wrote the offer, because it was a really competitive market, even a year and a half ago, whatever, when this happened. It was so competitive. We were like, okay, we'll just write the offer, and then we're still going to do the home inspection. Because I always recommended doing home inspections. That's a whole other story. So we go to the home inspection. We go to the house. It was my first time seeing the house. I never recommend that. I like to go, obviously. But so we go in, and the first thing I notice is the floors are all spongy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
You can tell. Like, when you've been touring properties for over 20 years, you know when there's something
It's like you
wrong.
walk into a house and you know what the smell is.
You know what the smell is.
I know that is, they have a humidifier downstairs in the basement. I know
100%. Like, I'm allergic to mold, so I smell it the second I walk into a house, and I'm like, oh, we're going to find a problem. It's going to be a wet basement, whatever. But, like, the floors were spongy, and I'm like... And, when you go upstairs, you can, like, the floors is slanty once you go upstairs. And I'm like, oh, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But he loved it so much. And I was like, oh, this is going to be devastating. And when the home inspector was amazing, by the way. I have, like, a good group.
You can give him a shout out.
Boyd Home Inspections. He was really, really good. He actually crawled under the house. There was it's a crawl space house with 2 feet of, so it's John Boyd, by the way. I love him. He's really good. And he crawls under the house. A lot of home inspectors won't do that, by the way.
I know that you made access to a crawl space for one of Sharon's clients.
Yes.
They said, "Oh, we can't get under there." And you said, "Oh, move out of the way. I will get you in.
I'll get you in. You're going to go." Well, because you want a good home inspector will find a way in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you want to know everything there is to know about that house. So he crawled in and he found there were all of these wooden supports that were rotting, and it was the pipes were a mess. There was wiring underneath this crawl space. It was all wet. And so he ended up having to back out because it was such a disaster. It would have been $100,000 worth of foundation work and all this stuff. It was bad. And he was so sad. But that's the thing, you really should try to see it with your agent, because sometimes an experienced agent will go through the house and notice things that, I would never be a home inspector.
Yeah.
And I always preface it with that. I'm like, look, I'm not a home inspector, but when we do the home inspection, you want them to look at this.
Yeah. That's why even when I was looking, I don't think I saw any house by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm in the industry.
Right.
Every single house, either Mary went to with me, Sharon went with me, or Kristen. And Kristen, a lot of the times, because she had a buyer that was like right on my coattails. And so I would always say, "Are you putting in an offer too?" And she'll say no, and I'm like, "All right, let's go." And she would walk it with me. But everybody has their sort of, I don't want to say expertise, because in my eyes, you guys are all experts, but like, immediately I remember pulling up to a house that I had already seen, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like I'm really thinking about putting in an offer. We pull up, Mary gets out of the car, chimney's falling off the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice. I'm like, oh, like everybody has these things where they're just, and again, you took 2 steps in the house and you go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong below us.
Yeah.
And you just know. And we've talked about this several times of like, buyers, just being so sort of, they're tired of the chase.
Right.
And when you get tired of the chase, you make, decisions that could be bad.
Yeah,
and
true.
we want to make sure that you're not making bad decisions, no matter where you're at in the process.
Oh my gosh. One time we went in, I went in with the buyers to a house, and it was like a raised ranch, and the kitchen living room, like between the dining area and the living room, was sinking. And I'm like, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. And we, most people who look at raised ranches want to look at them because they want the extra living space in the basement.
Yeah.
And the sellers had taken out the lally column that was holding up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was like they had, just to make, because they wanted a family room in the basement, and they thought, oh, we'll just take the lally column out, and it was like a front to back family room, but the floors was sinking in. It was really interesting. So the buyers didn't notice, like they noticed the slanty floor, but I'm like, I had to point it out, like there's no lally column here. There's nothing holding up the house.
There's nothing holding up the house here.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely want to have some experience when you're looking at it. And the answer to your question after 10 minutes of talking is, I like to go with my buyers.
Yeah. So private
showings are always better.
Yeah. Some points about private showings. They're more personalized experience. You have the opportunity to ask detailed questions. You have the ability to sort of move at your own pace within reason. We're going to get to sort of the guidelines when it comes to private showings, but you definitely have a better opportunity to evaluate the property without distractions.
Yes.
And I mean that by just going to the open house, and it may be busy. It's sort of been all over the place, I feel like, with open houses, either really busy or just a couple people trickling in. And so it's interesting. This market is definitely, all I can say is interesting.
It's very interesting.
It's
every weekend's so different than the last.
Every weekend is yeah. You know what? I think that's what makes it interesting, is because every week is different.
It is.
And we say that the market changes every 5 or 10 years, and it's time for the change and all this. And I'm like, I feel like it's changing every single week. I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's the buyers, the sellers, the interest rates, what's going on in the world. Like, I don't know, but it's changing every single week.
So true.
When Sharon put her sellers in Norwell were getting ready to get on the market, there's maybe like 1 or 2 houses in Norwell. The same week, there's like 12.
Yeah, that's so weird. Yeah.
Where's everybody going?
It's so strange.
But there's definitely 12 people trying to get into Norwell, so we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about private showings, and all decision makers should attend the showing.
Yes.
I want to say that because you want to avoid delays caused by someone seeing a property later.
That's so true.
Different people notice different things.
Yeah.
And
we
just said that with you.
I have to say, like, even like working with couples, like, a lot of times, like, a husband will be like, oh, I love this house. My wife's going to love it. And then the wife looks at it and she's like,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think that if everybody knows that I purchased my home on my own before Ethan and I, well, really when we started dating, but now that we're engaged and, we're getting married, eventually one day we'll need a bigger house.
Yeah.
And I think that if he went out and looked at a house and wanted to put in an offer on the house would be very different from what and one of the things that we don't agree on is a pool. He wants a pool. I don't want a pool at all.
Yep.
He grew up at the pool.
Yeah.
He's comfortable around the pool. I'm like, absolutely not. Nope.
Yeah, people don't realize that sometimes a pool is not a value add. For some people it is.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted a pool. Now that I have a pool, I know why people don't want a pool. Because it is a lot of maintenance. It's like there's a lot of work. And, now that my kids are older, no one uses the pool. It like just sits there and we open it and we pay to run it and,
Yes.
It's a lot of money.
Everyone I know that has a pool doesn't use it.
Right.
Like, what does that say? Because everyone's busy. Everyone's too busy. They're working.
Right. Exactly.
I do want to give the phone number one more time. So if you have a question for us or if you want to join in on the discussion, you can call or text 781-837-4900. Ginny Wandell is a full-time agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate. She is watching. She says, good morning. Good talk
Hi,
with
Ginny.
a heart. Hi, Ginny. And, of course, our number one listener, Liz, she is listening. So, hey, Mom. Hi, Mom. But yeah, I think that, and Kristen Howlett, when she's on the show, again, another full-time agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate, she talks about when her and Brian bought their house many years ago. And he just was, I don't know, driving around Bridgewater and saw this new development being built and put in an offer on it and came home and was like, oh, by the way, I put in an offer. If Ethan did that, it would definitely be a house that I don't want. And it would be a pool. And I'd be like, what are you doing?
Oh, my gosh.
What are you doing?
I had a good friend who that happened 2 years ago. Her husband, her now husband, was then her boyfriend. Like they had just gotten engaged and he thought he would surprise her and buy a house, and so he did that. And actually it happened to my stepdaughter too.
Oh my gosh.
Up in Maine. Like he bought a house and then like told her later what, like they got engaged in the house. Like he asked her to
oh my gosh, that's so cute.
She didn't realize that he had already bought the house.
Yeah.
Like she had no say.
Oh my gosh, she had no say.
It worked out for her, but not for my friend.
Well, it worked out for Kristen. I mean, they've been there. They raised their 3 kids and everything, and but yeah, like I said, we both need to be there.
Yes.
Every decision maker needs to be there.
No, my friend her now husband that bought the house was so upset. And they lived there for the first year, but she hated it. And she was we're putting this on the market as soon as we possibly can.
Oh my gosh.
They did.
Oh my gosh. That's
always
so funny.
have your significant other help you in the decision process. I'm just saying.
I thought you were going to say siblings.
I almost did.
If my brother, who his name is also Ethan, if my brother Ethan, he, as long as it's got a roof and 4 walls, he'll buy.
Right.
So again, every decision maker needs to be there.
100%.
And again, we'll go to a situation. So one spouse towards the property first, parents or family members become involved later, buyers bring contractors after the fact. So best practice is whenever possible, everyone involved in the decision should attend the initial showing.
Yes.
Again, you can see a property more than once. That's perfectly fine. And you should, you should see a property more than once before you decide that you're going to, spend your life savings on it.
100%.
But whenever possible, everyone involved in the decision should attend to the initial showing.
But don't necessarily bring extra people if you can. Sometimes it's okay to bring a family member, but I've had more showings blow up because the parents came and gave their opinion, and sometimes parents just want to show their value, and parents are valuable.
Yeah.
They want to show their value, and they say things that might not necessarily be true. I had that happen a couple of times where the parents were expressed concerns over something that was minor, and blew up the deal because
This is why we always say hire a licensed home inspector.
yeah, absolutely. Hire
And
a home
especially
inspector.
now with the regulations and that have changed is, with negotiations after the fact, you better make sure that you have a licensed home inspector and
Yes.
it's not just somebody who does because you have no leg to stand on when
Right.
it comes to negotiations.
Absolutely.
And we can do a whole show on that too. But all decision makers should attend the showing. Moving on for what buyers notice during showings. I think it's important to encourage your buyers to observe certain things when they're walking through a property. It's almost like training them to see things when you're not there.
Yes.
So again, you just described your buyer's going to an open house because you yourself, who is also a listing agent,
Yes.
was hosting an open house. When you go through, properties with your buyers, I think it's important to sort of highlight certain things and say, hey, make sure that you are looking at these certain things. I think the big thing, especially since COVID, is layout and functionality.
Yes.
People used to love the open layout. And I think COVID sort of switched people's minds of like, okay, they want to get back to having separate spaces because we were all on top of each other.
Yes.
Everybody had to have a home office and things like that. So
Right.
I think we're getting back to that sort of traditional walls up home.
Yes, true. Yeah, it is nice to have an office for sure.
So making sure that you're walking through and the layout of the house functions in a way that you want it as a buyer.
Also, I think it's really important that, you look at what renovations are needed and know what's going to cost money and what's not. I think there's a big difference between cosmetic issues and actual structural issues that need to be dealt with. Now, if you have a large budget, it's one thing.
Yeah.
There are 203K loans, like you can get, renovation loans, but, if you don't want to go through the process of a renovation loan, which is a little bit long, that's a whole other show. Again. Then, you have to take a look at what's going to cost money. Does it need a new roof? Does it need a new kitchen? Does it need new bathrooms? Is everything, can you live with all of the items the way they are?
Yeah.
You know? So, and that's okay if you're okay with living with it, but like major things like a roof or a heating system, like if the heating system's really old and the hot water tank's really old and maybe there's knob and tube wiring or, things like that, like you should work with somebody who can like at least point out like, oh, this is going to be a little bit more that, you got to look at your budget.
Yeah.
If you have no budget, you really shouldn't look at homes that need a lot of work.
Yeah.
But paint is one thing.
Yeah.
And old cabinets, there's nothing wrong with old cabinets as long as they're clean and functional.
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah.
sometimes that's completely fine. Or an older bathroom, if it's an older bathroom with like a pink bathtub and like whatever, that's not necessarily the end of the world as long as everything's functional.
Yeah.
It's when you're talking about a heating system or like big ticket items, that
you want to make sure that you're taking care of those things.
Yes. So when you're a buyer looking at a house, that's something you should be, your buyer's agent will point these things out. Like, oh, well, you said your goal was to not have to do more than $5,000 worth of work and your budget is here. So let's consider that, if you buy this house, you're going to have to do A, B, C, and D.
Right. I think it's very important to have your buyers know what is important to them. So walking through the house and knowing that, even if it's the traffic flow, okay,
Right.
so you want to go to a property a couple different times during the day, maybe the weekend, to see what the traffic is like, because that might be important to you, to not live on a busy street or, so maybe
Or near an airport.
Yeah. So maybe don't look at houses near there. Yeah, train. Like, I got home from work last night. I could hear the train in Halifax. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's 11 o'clock.
Yes.
You just know those things. Like, that doesn't bother me, but it may bother other people.
Right.
just the noise levels outside, whether there's enough storage in the house, things that are important to that buyer, they should be looking sort of for that first, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think that a lot of people look at the cosmetics first because, of course, your eye is drawn to certain things. Yeah. And I think even as a listing agent, we have to remind our sellers of, when we're staging homes, we're selling the floors. We're not selling the rugs that are on top, like the area rugs on top. So let's pull the area rugs up.
Yes.
Let's, take down the heavy drapes.
Yes.
We're selling windows. We're selling floors. We're not selling your personal items. Exactly. Let's highlight the best of this house. So, I think that it does become distracting for people when there is just a lot of things and a lot of things to look at,
right?
In a home where, if you are highlighting what's, these great features, then they don't get stuck in that. Then they can fall in love with those floors. They can fall in love with those windows, which people do.
Yes.
That's so true. I think it's important. What else with this one before we move on?
Well, I think that's all really good points, and I think a buyer's agent will also help you to, like if you do fall in love with the house when you walk in because everything's cosmetically beautiful, a buyer's agent will help you to stay focused on some of the important things that will cost you money. Yeah.
We know that you love this light feature, but how about the fact that this layout does not work whatsoever? Yeah. It's like we can buy the light feature somewhere.
Yeah. You said you hated raised ranches and now you're looking at, whatever. So
that's me. Yeah. I didn't want to raise ranch. That's where I landed, which I do love. I do love my house. So, and like I said, we're not moving somewhere where there's a pool. But just a couple more points before I give you an opportunity to talk about your open house today. Be careful what you say.
Yes.
And I mean that with all sincerity. Be careful what you say because properties often have cameras.
Yes.
And that's just modern reality. So this little segment here is modern reality of showing. So many homes have Ring doorbells. I have a Nest doorbell. Interior security cameras.
Yep.
Those exist.
They do.
Smart home devices, baby monitors.
You never know.
Yeah, audio recording devices. Just so you know, if there are devices, that has to be posted somewhere.
It has to be disclosed.
Yes, it's the listing agent's responsibility to disclose that there are recording devices. And there's some regulations that go along with that. But whether it's an MLS or posted at the house specifically, that there is, video or audio or both recordings, it needs to be posted somewhere. So,
the last thing you want to do is talk about your offer strategy at the open house when there's a camera nearby.
Or a private showing when you're at the front door and the Ring doorbell's just like keeps going off and off. And again, I don't think it's always maliciously, right. But when a Ring doorbell's going off a million times, it's instinctual to look to see what's going on.
Absolutely.
So that's when you just put it on silent for 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't want to be saying like to your agent, hey, do you think that they'd take $10,000 less because of, the backyard, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The seller could be listening to that, so you have to be very careful.
I think just be careful what you say, and it's not just even the recording devices. Be careful what you say around other people, because especially during busy open houses, you don't know who's an agent and who is a buyer, or who is the office manager, because I have heard things in open houses, and I go right to the listing agent and I say, I just want to let you know that they are going to put in an offer, but they don't want to pay X amount of dollars because the kitchen is dated. And the listing agent is just like, okay, well, did they see the million other people that are here? Right. I think we'll be okay.
Right.
Things like that. And it's funny because those people did, I'm talking about a real scenario here. Those people did put in an offer and they were the lowest.
Of course they were. Yeah.
The lowest. It just, no.
Yeah.
It was a no.
Yeah, of course it was.
It was a no. Terms and conditions, price and everything. Lowest. Not every property is easy to show. Some sellers may have children or pets. They work from home, have health concerns, need advance notice, and they're coordinating multiple schedules as well. So just be aware that your showing may be declined.
Yes.
Vacant homes are often easier to access. Occupied homes have limited showing windows. Be respectful of people's times. Thankfully, in the summertime, it's lighter outside later, so you can sort of creep, to the later showings, but be respectful. And then buyer expectations, flexibility can help secure opportunities and things like that. Before we run out of time, talk about your open house and your listing that you have.
Yeah, I have the cutest house in Pembroke. It's in the Queensbrook neighborhood, which is a great neighborhood in Pembroke, very close to the town center and the new Big Y that's going in.
We're so excited.
We're so happy to have that space. But so it's a 4-bedroom, 2 full bath ranch style house. So from the front, you don't really realize how big it is. So it's one of those houses you really have to get in to see. It has a beautiful great room when you walk in, and has vaulted ceilings, a brand new kitchen, brand new roof, all hardwood floors, and it's only $689, which I think is a fantastic price for Pembroke.
Yeah.
So, I'll be there from 12 to 2 today.
Perfect.
And it's also available for private showings. But if you want to just pop in today, it's kind of a gray day. So it's a perfect day to go open house shopping.
It is a perfect day to buy a house.
It really is.
Just like every other day of the year. It's a perfect day to buy a house.
Yes.
Why don't you give your phone number, all of your contact information, actually, your phone number, your email address, your website again, in case somebody wants to get in touch with you.
So you can find all of my information at southshorevibes.com. But my email is S as in Susan, Bollinger, Bollinger, at bostonconnect.com. And it's 508-317-5729.
Give that phone number one more time.
508-317-5729. And feel free to text as well. So,
final thoughts on today's topic.
Hire a buyer agent.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Hire a buyer's agent.
And there's ways to make it affordable. So talk with your buyer's agent. There are ways to build in the cost, any cost associated with it. So,
there are strategies, there are ways to make this process, not seem daunting. And like I said in the beginning of the show, when I think of you as such a strong buyer's agent. You're such a strong listing agent as well. But there's something about your buyers that you just are like, they're my babies.
I love my buyers.
You love your buyers. And you know what? I think that you do an excellent job. And, I'm biased because I love my agents. Yes. I love the agents here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and I truly think that we have the best of the best.
It's the best in the business, I feel like, in South Shore.
So. Next Saturday, Sharon is going to be back joining me, and I think we're going to do a day in the life of a real estate agent.
Ooh, I love that.
A lot of what's going on recently is what we're doing behind the scenes. We touched upon it a little bit last week, but I think we definitely want to show our value next week. So.
Yes.
We do get the question of like, why would I pay an agent? Things like that. What do you do for me? Well, we're gonna let you know.
Well, the house sold in the first weekend.
Yeah.
Well, how did you earn it? There's so much more involved.
Don't you want to do that? Anyways, so that's a little sneak peek. We're gonna do a day in the life of a real estate agent next Saturday. But Sue, thank you so much for joining me today. Did you give the address for your open house today?
29 Andrew Drive.
29 Andrew Drive in Pembroke. You're going to be there from 12 to 2.
Follow the open house signs.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I'll be back next Saturday with Sharon McNamara, broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, Tim. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this